Coming from the farthest reaches of the universe to challenge the worst toy repairs on Earth is the most powerful hero ever, toy-polloi.
Hello and welcome to another video from toy-polloi, and in today's video we're going to be trying to fix up and repair this vintage 8-inch Mego Spiderman doll. Now, I've been wanting to have a Spiderman in my collection for quite a long time now, and until recently this is as much as I had. I found an outfit in a charity shop and I just put it on a basic figure. I didn't have the head, didn't have anything else, but I now have enough parts that I think I should be able to actually make myself a pretty decent looking Spider-Man. So today we are going to get this all fixed up. I've got a new broken Spider-Man, I've got some pieces of another Spider-Man, and I've got a few outfits that all need some sewing doing. So let's get on with the project. So what have we got here? Well, we've got the remains of a few bits of a Spider-Man. In fact, until recently, as I said, this was all I had. I found the outfit for this Spider-Man in a charity shop here in the UK, and I paid about £1 for it. So I just put it on a basic figure just to see what it would look like, and that is all I had. But recently I've had some very kind donations that you'll see over on the toy-polloi too. I got sent a head for a Spider-Man, which is this one here, which is in pretty reasonable condition. It looks like someone may have painted in the lines there, and maybe I can try and clean it up, but he's also missing the eyes on the front there, the white part of the eye, so that needs sorting out. I've also found in my spares box another Spider-Man outfit, which is actually not in too bad condition, but it looks like someone has tried to re-sew lots of this and sewn it fairly badly, so we might be able to tidy that one up. And then I was sent this very recently, which is an original Spider-Man, but sadly he has a very broken leg. He's also got a fairly sort of tatty outfit. There's lots of holes in it, bits of repairs. So what the plan is to actually put these together. I want to use the outfit from this one, and we'll use as much of this body as we can, because the body's actually red. I think it's red all over, unlike normal Mego figures where they are pink. So we'll use as much as we can. We may have to sacrifice the leg here. And I also have a spare Batman here, which is what we're going to be using for parts, because this leg on this figure is in pretty good condition. Let's take these apart and see what the damage is. Then we're going to need to do a little bit of cleaning as well, because none of these outfits have been cleaned. So we give everything a good wash, then we can start reconstructing. So let's take these apart and see what they look like.
Toy-polloi. That is incorrect. Try again.
So we'll start with the figure that I was putting together. Now, this is just a basic Mego body that I happen to have spare, and the outfit is actually in really nice condition. It doesn't look like there's any problems with any of the seams coming apart. It almost looks like it's hardly been worn. I didn't find it on a figure. I've literally found it just as the outfit was in a bag of sort of mixed old toy parts, and I bought the whole bag just to get this outfit. So it's not too bad condition at all. I think it's probably one of the nicest ones that I've seen in a very long time, and that's the outfit I plan to use. It just needs a good clean. As I say, this outfit here is not too bad. It's got a little bit of sort of damage to the feet, but I reckon we can do some repairs on that. We may end up with two pretty reasonable looking Spider-Man. One is my sort of goal, but you know, if we get two, that would be great. And as I say, that is just a basic Mego body without a head on it. Then we have this one, which I was sent very recently. The outfit on it is fairly tatty. It looks like it's got a lot of sort of repairs on it, and I can tell that one of the legs is broken. So let's take this outfit off and we'll see what sort of damage we've got to deal with. Oh, well, there you go. You can see exactly what damage we've got. One of the legs has stayed in there, so let's see if we can get that out. It's broken at the knee. These are incredibly common problems with Mego dolls. The knees, I think, are the most common thing to break on them. Yeah, and it's completely snapped at the joint. So we are going to have to replace that leg. There's no way of repairing that joint. We will try and swap it out. It may be that I swap out the entire leg, because this is all hidden, so he may not end up with a sort of flesh coloured leg. Or maybe I can try and soften the plastic and just swap out the bottom part. I think probably for ease of this, and because nothing is seen, I'll just swap out the whole leg. But yeah, otherwise the figure is not in too bad condition. And it's always interesting that these are made out of a red plastic. There doesn't seem to be any real need to make these out of a red plastic. They could have just made the hands and maybe the upper torso. Everything else could have just been a standard figure, because you can't see it in the outfit. But there we go, that's Mego's choice. And then I have this spare head here. So what we've got to do now is give these a clean. I'm going to give everything a good wash in hot soapy water. I'll even wash the outfits in hot soapy water, and then I'm going to rinse them really well. Make sure everything is good and clean, and let everything dry. And while the outfits are drying, we can fix up this poor chap and get his legs back on. We can also have a go at cleaning up this head and see what that looks like. Make that look as good as we can. So let's get washing and cleaning. Now these are all clean, we can go ahead and start swapping the parts. I am just going to swap the entire leg because it's going to be completely hidden by the Spider-Man outfit, although I may swap this foot over just because that's such an easy thing to do. And here we have the donor figure, which is a Fighting Fists Batman figure. As you can see, one of his arms is broken off, so we're just going to take the leg off this guy. And these are held together slightly different than the other Megos. There's a band that just goes between these two thighs, so we just have to unhook that, which is a little bit more awkward than on some figures. So all we've got to do is just push that pin out. I'll grab it with my hands like so, and then we can unhook that piece from the elastic band, which sometimes doesn't want to go. There we go. So just unhook that little piece, let go of the band, then both his legs should fall off, and we have a spare leg here. And then changing the bands on these ones is pretty straightforward, and for that I like to use a crochet hook just because it's easy to get through the band that's still in the figure. You can just push that through, and there you see we have the little metal hook on this one, and a pair of needle-nosed pliers like this is pretty good because that just enables you to unhook it like so. And then we can take all of these parts. Actually, I might as well take the red part on this one, just keep a few original pieces. So there's that part. So now I've got this leg prepped, we can now attach it back onto Spider-Man. So I've got the little plastic hook piece here and the little metal sort of C shape. We have to pop that through the hip joint. And the tricky bit of this is actually getting this back onto the rubber band. It's never an easy process, and it's always a bit of a fiddly job. The crochet hook does help because it just means that you've got everything held here. Sometimes a piece of wire is useful because you can thread that through and then use that to sort of pull the elastic a bit more. It's just a tricky process. There's no easy way of doing this. And I'm sure if you haven't done this before, you will curse a few times when you're trying to get the legs back on. But just persevere, you can get it done. So there you go. I've got a bit of wire threaded through now, and then using that and a combination of tools, I should be able to get this back onto the hook, because you can now pull this, you can see, with some fairly sort of strong force. The elastic bands on these are pretty sturdy. Certainly the old vintage ones, they've got some real give to them. So I can pull that. If I was doing this off camera, I'd actually put the figure between my knees and then I would hook this back on. And in fact, I might do that just because it's a whole lot easier when you don't have the camera in the way. So let me just hook this leg back on quickly off camera. And there you go, as I say, a whole lot easier off camera because you can actually grip things. I just grip it between my knees because it's a lot easier to do that way, and you've got to pull things and sort of twist things at the same time. But there we go. So he's got his spare leg put on, or his sort of donor leg. I am going to swap the feet because that's a very easy thing to do. All you've got to do is push that little pin out there and the foot will come off. And again, the needle nose pliers are pretty good for that because you can just push those in and with a little bit of force push out that pin. There we go, you can see that's the pin come out on this side. Then I can grab that with the pliers and just wiggle that out, and then that foot will come off. Now I can swap in the Spider-Man foot, again just the same process. So I'll just push on that just a little bit and you can see the pin comes out. And again with a bit of a wiggle we can take that out. I'll just swap his foot on. So although he's got a donor leg, his foot now is the same colour, and it's yeah, all going to be hidden inside anyway, so it doesn't really make that much difference. So we put that pin in, and you can just push it in by hand. They're really pretty loose. There we go. That figure is ready to go. Now I do have this spare Spider-Man head, which is certainly not the worst I've seen, but it's actually not too bad. Someone, it looks like, has drawn some pen or something on the lines to sort of enhance the spider web pattern, and I'm probably could get rid of that using some benzoyl peroxide spot cream, but it does have a tendency to damage the red plastic underneath. So I think I'm just going to leave that, and all I'm going to do on it is actually improve the paint on the face. So the eyes are pretty worn, the black around the edge is pretty worn off, and then obviously the white in the centre is completely gone. So I'm just going to give them a quick repaint, and although this head won't be perfect, it actually still make quite a nice display piece. So let's just get that painted up. I've got some acrylic paints here, and this is a Vallejo model colour 70.950 also black. I've also got 70.951, which is white, and once those are on and dry, I have this varnish, which is just a satin varnish, which I will put over the top just to give it a nice little bit of a sheen. So let's get all of this painted up and see what it looks like. The outfits have now had time to dry, so I've been thinking about those off camera, about what I can do to get them both looking pretty reasonable. This one, as you can see, has a little bit of a sort of a tear on the groin there. I'm not sure if it's sort of gone all the way through or if it's just sort of the white material showing, so I think we can tidy that one up at least. Then the arm on here is also coming apart. Both of these seams have come undone, so we will turn this one inside out, repair all of that, and then I've got an idea, as I say, to fix that, and I'll show you that in a minute. It's also got some glue here on the shoulder, which with some picking is actually starting to come off, so I'm just going to carefully sort of pick away at that. I think it might be Evo stick or something, because it's gone a bit sort of orangey yellow, but I should be able to get the rest of that off. And then the little press studs as well have been sewn back on fairly badly, so I'm going to remove those and I will sew those back on. But all of that has to be done from the inside, so we will turn that inside out. On this one, again, the arm is starting to come apart. You can see here that there's a big hole, so we have to turn this inside out to fix that. We've also got some terrible sort of wear on the feet. It looks a bit moth-eaten, and I've been thinking about how to sort that out, and my plan for that is again to turn this inside out, and I'm going to sew some red toy knit fabric on the inside, and then maybe use some fabric pens or something to hide the whiteness of the sort of tears on the edges, and hopefully that will sort of fix those, because otherwise this outfit really isn't in bad condition. It's the feet that are the worst part of it. So let's get these all turned inside out, and then we can start removing any repairs that have been previously done, because I think on this one I can certainly see some sort of bad sort of hand done repairs, and we'll get all of that sewn up, and then we'll start seeing about fixing the other issues. Okay, so after a lot of unpicking, I've managed to get all of those repairs out, and it's now looking in an even worse state than it was when it started, but we can rectify that. We've just got to do a bit of sort of hand sewing along the edges, and I'm going to sew it slightly different to how it was originally sewn. On this one you can see that it was sewn with a red thread all the way around, but obviously we've got dark blue patches, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew the dark blue areas with a dark blue thread and the red areas with a red thread, so hopefully that will hide any of the repairs that I do. This one one is not in too bad condition. There's a few holes on this arm here. You can see where it's just come apart. This one though, there was an awful lot of repairs, so this is going to take quite a while. I think most of the sleeves have come apart. This one you can see it's got a big hole here, and the one on this side has pretty much come apart all the way around. So yeah, there's a lot of sewing to do, but it will make a big difference. So let's get all of these sort of external repairs done, and then we'll start sorting out some of the other issues. So a lot of sewing to do. Right, I think I am done with all of the sewing on these. I've managed to fill in all of the holes and the sort of gaps that we had in the seams around the edges, and it's not looking too bad. This was the roughest of the two, and we won't see the sort of full effect until we turn it back around the right way, but I will do that in a minute. Before I do that on this one, we need to repair these holes in the toes that I showed you, and my sort of plan for this was actually just to sew some red fabric on the inside. So when you turn it around the other way, there'll be some red fabric that sort of is underneath these patches, and then I've got some fabric pens that I'm going to try and colour the white edges. So I've just got myself some of my red toy knit fabric, which is the fabric that I like using, and it's a fairly close match to the colour red, maybe a little bit brighter because it hasn't had 40 years of fading. So I'm just going to cut some small pieces of this and then sew it just around the seams onto the inside of this, and then when we turn it around the right way, I think that will sort of patch it. It will patch it enough anyway. So let's get this sewn on and see what it looks like. There you go, there's the extra bit of toy knit sewn on the inside. I'm not 100% sure if this is going to work, but it's certainly worth a try. So the only way to actually find out if any of this stuff has worked is to turn them back round the right way. So let's turn these so that they are ready to go on the figures and see what they look like. And there we go, that's them now the right way round, and they're certainly not looking too bad. This was the roughest of them, I think, and yeah, it's not holding together too badly. Now there's still a few sort of frayed parts of the pattern, but yeah, it's not looking too bad at all. We do still have that rather sort of obvious mark there, and this is the one that I added those extra bits inside these sort of feet, and you can see it means that you've now got red when you see through, which doesn't look so bad, but there's a few little white edges, and that's what I was sort of having a think about. How can I get rid of those? And I've remembered that I've got these, which are fabric markers, and there is a red and there is a blue, so I'm going to try putting some of the blue on the white patch there and some of the red just around the edge of where it's sort of frayed on his feet there, and see if I can hide them. I have a feeling it will make quite a big difference. So here's the blue marker, and these are fabric markers, so you sort of draw them on, just let them dry for about half an hour, I think. So let's just paint that on there. Oh yeah, you can see straight away it's just hiding the sort of most obvious part of the fact that that sort of frayed area is a bit white. It's never going to be a perfect suit, this one, but I think it can still end up being fairly sort of displayable. Yeah, that's not too bad at all, actually. It's only just darkening it down. Let's try some of the red on the feet on these ones, see what happens. So here's the red marker, And again, you can just see it's like round the edges, there's sort of white patches around the edges. If I just draw some of this on those white bits, just to make them less obvious. Oh yeah, that's certainly working actually. Yeah. It's just hiding the fact that you can sort of see white. It's often all you need to do is just hide the fact that something's obvious, and as soon as it becomes a bit less obvious, you don't notice it. Yeah, that's not looking too bad at all. I'll just carry on with that, and then we can put them on the figures and see what they look like. And here we go, here are the final figures, and the one on the left you can see is looking really nice. That's the one that I've used basically all the best pieces from, and the only thing that's wrong with that one is that his right leg is pink, but as you can see, once he's got his outfit on, you really can't see that. So that's the figure that I'm going to be putting on display here, and the one on the right is the one that I've made out of sort of the best of the other pieces, and actually it's ended up looking pretty reasonable. The repairs that I did to the front part of his feet there, although not perfect, actually don't look too bad at all, and certainly once he's on display like this, it would be hard to notice. So I'm pretty happy with how that's turned out, and at the moment you can see he doesn't have red hands, he just has the normal sort of pink flesh hands. Maybe in the future I'll find some of the original hands, or maybe I can actually just paint those and paint them red and it would still look pretty good. But for the moment I think he's a pretty reasonable looking figure. The other outfit didn't turn out too great. It's still not too bad, and it would be perfectly fine if you wanted to display it on a figure, but it does have some serious issues. The fabric pens that I've used on the front have covered up some of the lightness of that tear, but it's still pretty obvious. So it's not the greatest of outfits, but it would do, as I say. But overall, all of the other fixes I'm really happy with, and this certainly is a figure that I'm going to be putting on display because I've always wanted to have a Mego Spider-Man in my collection. And actually looking at these now that they're put together, it's interesting to see the differences in the outfits. You can see that the one on the left has a much larger spider and the one on the right has a tinier spider, and on the other outfit the details are done in a black ink, whereas on these two here that you can see in front of me, it's all done in a bit of a blue. So there are clearly three different versions of the outfit. Maybe there are more. If you know, let me know in the comments below. Hopefully you have enjoyed this video. If you have, then make sure to hit the subscribe button and tap the bell to be notified each time I upload a new video. And if you've really enjoyed it and want to help support the channel, then why not think about becoming a Patreon or YouTube channel member. You get early access to all of my restoration videos and also access to an exclusive series called On the Cutting Mat, where I show projects that you won't see anywhere else. So have a think about that, and thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching Toy-Polloi. Subscribe for more great videos.